My stomach churned with frustration, but I didn't panic. No, I had a plan. I dialed the DEA's emergency number and explained the situation to one of my colleagues. Within minutes, a few federal agents were on their way to my neighborhood. I had also called the local police, letting them know that Karen had violated federal law by tampering with evidence. They were quick to respond, and soon enough, a few uniformed officers arrived to back up the federal team. When they showed up at Karen's house, she acted like the victim. She tried to play it off as a simple mistake. After all, it was just a violation to her HOA rules, right? But the agents and police weren't buying it. After all, no one messes with federal property and gets away with it, especially when it's tied to an investigation that could take down a cartel. The Mustang was returned to my driveway by the authorities. And Karen? Well, she was left standing there, trying to explain her way out of federal charges. Her smug attitude had disappeared, replaced by a look of sheer panic. Violation notice, my ass. Karen thought she could flex her HOA muscle and take matters into her own hands. But what she didn't realize was that she had just tangled with the wrong person, and the consequences were far beyond what she could have imagined. Joke's on her, because that abandoned Mustang? It wasn't just a car to me. It was evidence in an ongoing federal case. And Karen's overzealous attempt to play the neighborhood tyrant had only made her a target for much bigger forces than her HOA rulebook could ever protect her from. I called my supervisor the second I saw the empty garage. My heart was still racing as I stared at the spot where the Mustang had been just hours ago. My mind was spinning, but there was one thing I knew for sure. Karen from the HOA had crossed a line, and I was about to make sure she paid for it. I hit speed dial, and my supervisor, Agent Jacobs, picked up after the second ring. "Agent Jacobs," he said, his voice groggy, clearly not expecting a call at this hour. "Karen from the HOA just took my car," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. There was a long pause on the other end, followed by a sigh. And then, the unmistakable sound of him bursting out laughing. "You're telling me an HOA Karen just stole a car tied to a cartel money laundering operation?" He was struggling to stifle his chuckles, clearly amused by the absurdity of it all. I didn't find it funny. I was ready to lose it. "I'm serious. My car's gone, and I have security footage of her leading a tow truck crew right to it. She even posed for a picture next to it, like she was some kind of hero. This is no joke." Jacobs cleared his throat, still clearly trying to regain his composure. All right. I'll make some calls. This will be dealt with quickly. Don't do anything without backup, okay?" I wasn't planning on acting alone. "I'm on it. Just get the agents here." Within hours, 2 black SUVs rolled up to the HOA office. They parked in front, and a handful of men in dark suits emerged, flashing badges as they walked with purpose toward the entrance. It was clear they weren't here for a neighborhood complaint. They meant business. Karen, who had been smugly chatting with a few of her cronies out front, froze when she saw the agents approach. Her eyes widened as they walked past the HOA office door and straight into her domain, the all-knowing power trip that had been her playground for so long. She quickly tried to straighten up, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear, but the calm smile she wore faltered when the agents marched directly toward her. The leader of the group, tall with dark glasses and a no-nonsense posture, stepped forward and flashed his badge at Karen. "Ma'am," he said coldly, "we're with the federal government. We need to talk about your recent activities regarding the Mustang in the driveway." Karen's face drained of color. The self-assuredness she displayed so many times before evaporated in an instant. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words were lost in the air as the agents stepped closer. "You're in possession of federal property obtained through illegal seizure," the lead agent continued, his voice firm and unwavering. Karen stammered, her previously perfect facade cracking under the pressure. But it was parked illegally," she protested, flailing her hands in the air. "I did what I had to do. It was an eyesore, and it violated the rules." The agent didn't budge. He stepped even closer, his expression darkening. "Ma'am, you're not the police. You just committed felony theft." The words hit her like a freight train. She took a step back, her lips parting as if she was about to speak but couldn't find the right words. Her face went from pale to ghostly white as the reality of what she had done sank in. She wasn't dealing with an HOA fine anymore. She was facing federal charges, and there was no easy way out. The lead agent didn't wait for her response. He pulled out a tablet and began showing her a series of images, all taken from the security footage. There was Karen, pointing at my Mustang, leading the tow truck crew, posing with a triumphant grin. There was no denying what she had done. "We have evidence," the agent said, his tone icy. "You took federal property without authorization. That's a felony, ma'am." Karen's once smug grin had completely disappeared, replaced by a look of disbelief. She stammered, trying to come up with some excuse, but the words failed her. It was too late to play the victim. She had overstepped, and now the feds were here to take her down. The agents didn't waste any more time. They placed her under arrest right there in front of the HOA office, and as they cuffed her, the remaining agents began to question the bystanders and HOA board members who had witnessed the scene. It was clear that Karen's reign over her little suburban kingdom had come to an abrupt end. As they led her to one of the SUVs, I couldn't help but feel a small sense of satisfaction. She had thought she was above the law, above the rules, and above everyone else in this neighborhood. But it turned out that Karen had picked the wrong person to mess with, and now she was going to face the consequences of her overzealous behavior. And me. I was just glad to have my car back where it belonged, safe, sound, and out of Karen's petty reach. The fallout was glorious. The Mustang, after being meticulously dusted for fingerprints, because, of course, irony, was finally returned to my driveway. The feds handled the process with precision, treating the car like a prized piece of evidence, and it felt strangely satisfying to watch Karen's grip on the car slip further away. I'd almost forgotten how much I missed it, the rumble of the engine, the shine of the chrome, the sweet smell of leather. After months of bureaucratic nonsense, the Mustang was finally back where it belonged, free from Karen's petty grasp. But Karen's downfall was only just beginning. Once the car was dusted for prints and thoroughly examined by the authorities, the charges against her piled up faster than she could process. First came destruction of property. She'd illegally towed the Mustang, damaging its undercarriage in the process. Then there was theft. After all, you can't just steal someone's property, especially a federally seized one, without facing consequences. And to top it off, obstruction of justice. The car had a tracking device installed, and she'd gone out of her way to erase any trail, unaware that the feds had already traced it to her. When the news broke, it spread like wildfire through the neighborhood. The HOA wasn't just shaken, it was shattered. Thanks to the lawsuit I filed against them, the skeletons came tumbling out of their closets. For years, the HOA had been running an illegal scheme of fines and harassment, bullying homeowners over minor violations and pocketing the money. The evidence was undeniable, and the lawsuit exposed the HOA as a corrupt organization that had been using its power to terrorize the community.